Hi class, today we're going to talk about Boolean. So we're going to go to week 7 and it's going to be under 7.1 and 7.2 for this week. We may add more depending on how far we get. But we're going to talk about the Boolean type and Boolean operators. So if you wouldn't mind going to that lesson, that would be wonderful. It's going to be in week 7. And if you remember back in lesson 4, we looked at 3 fundamental types. It was int, double, and string. Today we're going to talk about Boolean. And Boolean is going to be a declaration of a fundamental variable. So we're going to be able to declare it just like we declare an integer, a double, or a string. You're going to be able to declare a Boolean. And what that's going to do, it's going to determine if something is true or if something is false. So we're going to have to think of it not in terms of like a number or characters, but in terms of yes or no, or true and false. So, and that's the only 2 values. So let's take a look at some of the statements that we could come out either true or false. Now, this isn't necessarily in Java, but it's definitely something where we do some reasoning. Is it true or false? So let's just say we have 2 integers. We have x equals 3 and y equals 97 here. So if we were going to run a series of tests, because that's what Boolean does, it tests to see if something is true or if something is false. If we were going to run those series of tests, it would say something like, is x less than 10 and is y equal to 97? So if we were going to think about that, is x less than 10? Is that true? Yes, it is, because x is 3. And is y equal to 97? Well, y is equal to 97, and both of them are true because we're using the word and. So they both have to be true. So because both parts are true, the whole thing is true. So if we were going to do a statement like that or a program like that, the thing would come out true. If we were going to take a look again and say, is x less than 10 and is y equal to negative 3? Well, yes, it's true that x is less than 10. But y is not equal to negative 3. So the first part is true, the second part is false, therefore the whole thing is false. And then same with this, is x less than 10 or? So this is something different, this is or, so it could be true. One of them just has to be true. So x is less than 10 or is y equal to 97? If either part is true, so if it's the first part, so this part is true, x is in fact less than 10, and y is equal to 97. So if one of those are true, the whole thing is true. And similarly, if x is less than 10 or y is equal to negative 3. So we know x is less than 10. That is true. Y is equal to negative 3. That is false because y is 97. So x is less than 10 or y is equal to negative 3. So again, if either part is true, so the first part is true, the second part is false, but because it's just has to be one of those conditions, the whole thing is true. So let's take a look at it in terms of Java. This is more just reasoning, but let's take a look at in Java code or syntax. If we're taking a look at Java here, let me make this smaller. If we had to compare the two quantities, instead of saying something like, if we take this first statement, y is equal to 97, in Java, we would code it as y is equals to 97. So recall that a single equal sign means it's assigning it to an operator, meaning it's assigning it to, it's assigning, like a number is being assigned to a variable. If we are comparing the values, so that's what we're doing. We're saying y is equal in terms of comparison, not assigning. Then you're going to use equal sign. So remember that. That's going to be key. Also in Java, we're going to use and. So if we're comparing both of the statements to be true or both of them to be false, so it has to be both of the statements, we're going to use, instead of the word and, we're going to use the ampersand or the and sign. And we have to use them together because we are actually comparing. So there's going to be 2 ampersands. And then if we're going to use or, to see if one or the other is true, we're going to use these two little sticks. And that can be found if you hit your shift key and the key right above the return or enter key. So it's near the curly brackets. And you're going to use two of those. So here is a table. And I would definitely write this in your notes. So please do that. You're also going to want to write that Boolean is true or false. Again, so let's take a moment and jot this down, this table, in your notes. And then make sure you write that Boolean means true or false. So here's a truth table. So again, if we're doing and comparison, if they're both false, it's false. If one is false and one is true, it's going to be false. Same with if the first one's true and the second one's false, it's going to be false. And if they're both true, it's going to be true. If we're dealing with ors, one or the other, if they're both false, it'll be false. If one is false and one is true, it'll be true. If one is true and one is false, it'll be true. And of course, if they're both true, it'll be true. Another thing that we're going to look at is the negation or not operator. And then that can be used with the exclamation point. So if we were going to do a simple code, say like, hey, we're going to just output the not true, meaning opposite of true or not true, it would print out false. If you're going to do a system printout of not false, it'd be true. If we were going to do this system output, like in number 3, so we first got to go into the parentheses. Remember order of operation here. So 3 is less than 5. That is true. But we are taking the not or opposite of it. And that means it's false. Same with this. So if we're taking a look at 1 is equal or equivalent to 0, that would be false. But we're taking the opposite or not version of false, which would be true. We can also use not equals, which means it's not equal. So example, if we did a system output of z is not equal to x, it would print out those values. It would print out some type of value. And we're going to go into that when we do some practices. Okay, so let's go back down here. Let's talk about order of operation in terms of precedence. Precedent means what takes priority or what comes first. So in here, this is something you're going to write in your notes. It takes priority by going left to right. So the first priority is going to be the not. The second one is going to be the equals. The third one is going to be the not equals. The fourth one is going to be the ampersand or and then it's going to be the or. Unless there's parentheses. So make sure you understand that. So for example, if we did a simple print of a true or false and false, it would first go compare the false and false. Even though there's not parentheses, it would go there because remember the ampersands or the and comes before the or. So that would be false and false would be false. And then it'd be true or false. Remember, just one has to be true. So it'd be true. Same with the second example. True and false or false. It is going to look at this section first, comparing the ampersands or the and. So true and false. Remember, it has to be both. So if it's true and false, the first part is going to be false. And then now we say false or false, which would be false. And we'll do that. And then if we're going to create our Boolean or declare it, we declare it like we would another, like if we were declaring any kind of variable. Instead of using integer, instead of using double or string, we're going to use the word Boolean, and that's going to come before the variable. So we'll go ahead and do an example.